Hello and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 508. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I am Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. Today is Monday, November 9th, 2020.
It's a Monday, y'all.
Yeah, last week when we recorded, apparently I said something about by the time this thing's up, the done, you guys will know who won, and then it took 5 more days.
Oh my.
Which is, is what it is. So anyway, this week it's felt really long to me. I mean, I guess part of that's because the election and the uncertainty, and
we were talking about Animal Crossing and the mushrooms the other day in a group. I was talking about it in a group chat, and my friend Becca was like, I haven't been on since Halloween. And my other friend was like, that was only 8 days ago, because this is taking place in the past. And she's like, it feels like it was 4 Tuesdays ago.
Yeah. And well, I don't have a ton to show, but I do have it's not really a funny story, but it would fit under shenanigans if this was the Fat Squirrel Speaks, which is an awesome podcast. And you should absolutely check it out if you are interested in like gardening or sewing or knitting or spinning. Amy Beth is a genuinely wonderful human being, and I wish I lived closer so I could stalk her.
Apple picking.
Yes. But yeah, so Saturday I went over to Laura's, and when I go to Laura's, we still socially distance. Like, Laura's got this one big long sofa, and then on the other side of it is a chair. So one of us sits on the far side of the sofa, the other sits on the chair. So even though we're in the same room hanging out, we're not like right beside each other. And that's why we don't record in the same room right now, because we couldn't do it and not be breathing on each other, essentially. So
that is correct.
So I went to Laura's and we watched, I think, Great British Bake Off and
Supermarket Sweep.
Yes, with Leslie Jones.
Sweep.
Which is,
and there's drag queens on this new one, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's amazing. I can't wait to watch that. So
it's
I
like
came
Sherry
home.
Vine, who's one of Bianca's friends.
Oh, okay. Well, they're bound to be entertaining.
Yes.
So I came home, and a little bit after I came home, Michael had dealt with an anthill earlier in the day, and he gotten rid of most of the anthill, but then he laid out these glue traps to catch, the leftover ants, and a mockingbird got stuck in them.
Oh no!
Yeah, like its chest and its wing and part of its foot. And so we spent, 2 hours like freeing it gently from the glue trap and like gently washing its wings and its feet and just, trying to keep it calm. And then we realized that, like, because the glue traps were super sticky, I mean, we used acetone, which isn't abrasive, you just shouldn't inhale it. We used a little bit of acetone on the wings to get the stickiness off, and then we used like Dawn dish soap to also get the stickiness off. But it would be a little while before the wings were like back to normal. Yeah. And so I was like, we probably should mock up a little cage or something and give it a couple days to like groom itself back to normal, right? So
the Toad Army is no longer alone.
So, well, the Toad Army, part of it has relocated, which is another story. But so by this point, it was probably 9 o'clock when we had finished washing it. And so I had it wrapped gently in a towel, and I'm, just holding it gently. And it seems fine. Its heart's beating, fast, but it seems fine. And it watches you if you move, and none of the cats or the dogs were interested in it at all. And instead of mocking something up, Michael decides he's going to build a giant cage. So, and it says something.
Of course he did.
Yeah. It says something about him that he didn't have to leave the house to mock up this giant cage. I mean, it was like rectangle shaped, and it was probably 18 inches wide and deep, and then maybe 5 feet tall. Like, and so we had chicken wire, and we were like stapling the chicken wire to the wood and like wrapping it around and zip tying, and like we've probably spent 3 hours on this. So it's like midnight at this point. And Michael needs some help on a part where he doesn't have enough hands to do something. So I call Kobe down and I explain, what we're doing. And I'm like, all I need you to do is hold the bird. And I showed him exactly how to hold it. So it was like, held securely.
Your 17-year-old son.
Kobe is my 17-year-old son. Correct. And he's like, okay. So he's holding the bird and he's talking to us as we're like doing the thing. And it probably takes us another 45 minutes. And we're almost done. We just have the top part where we've got maybe 10 minutes of work left because we just have to staple down a thing on the top. And we're all standing in the garage because that's where Michael's building this thing, and Kobe's in the garage with us too. And something happens and Kobe lets go of the bird, right? And our garage is full of tools and bins and shelves, and there's a whole toad army. And so the first thing we do is we close the door so the mockingbird doesn't get into the house, because then we'll never find it. So we close the door, and we all spend like an hour looking for this bird. Michael's got this temperature gun thing, and he's like going around trying to find it behind shelves and and it was like 2 in the morning.
2 a.m.
Yes. It's like 2 in the morning, a little after maybe, and we still haven't found this mockingbird. And I'm like, how about this? We have bird seed because I have bird feeders in the back. And I'm like, how about this? I will put out a little bowl of water and a little bowl of bird seed. We just keep the garage door closed, leave it alone for the night. It's fine. It's not hurt. Or, I mean, it was hopping around fine. So, it can get around. And I'm like, let's just close the door. It will come out at some point when it gets hungry, and, we can get some rest and find this bird tomorrow. It'll be fine. And so Michael decides to get up every like half hour looking for this bird over the course of the night. I know this is a really long story.
No, it's entertaining me. Brought to you by the gentleman who built a fish tank mobile moving truck.
Yes. And so at some point during him checking because he would get up and he'd look in the garage, and then he, would lay back down. And so at some point, I'm guessing the garage door must not have closed all the way. And the mockingbird got into the house, and then Fred immediately killed it.
Aww.
So yeah, sometime between like 4 and 5:30 a.m.
That's a terrible story. Why did you tell the story?
Because that was like 8 hours of my life yesterday. And
yeah,
it will also help explain why I have less crafting. Totally. But it was also sad. Like, we tried so hard to save this damn bird, and it just didn't work. Sometimes that's the way it goes, man.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sucks. But we tried.
I bet Fred was so happy.
I wasn't the one that found him. It was Michael's turn to get up when it happened. So, yeah. It made me sad. Sorry to ruin your day. But yeah, how about you talk for a while? Let's bring it back up with a Laura story.
Well, I am knitting on a sock.
That'll work.
I don't really have stories.
I'll take that.
So this is the second of my Knit Spin Farm Little Known Holiday Club in the Tolkien colorway. That's being knit on size 1 needles. The first one is done. I did it when I finished it when I was in line to vote. Yeah. So first one's done. Second one's on the needles. I made these a little bit smaller. So these are 50 2-inch socks versus 56. Because they're sport weight, so they're a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, and on fingering weight, I usually knit like 64. So yeah, but I also normally knit on size 0s, and these are on size 1s. So I did a couple rows while you were telling your story. That's about all the progress that they've gotten, and that's all I have really on the needles.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's all that I'm actively working on. There's other things in the show notes that I haven't
Right.
touched. But yeah.
Well, in the show notes, it says that I'm seaming squares. I've not seamed any squares this week. But I have worked on my Celadon shawl, which, well, it's a modified Celadon. I'm using stitch counts and everything, but I'm changing the color progression. So I am using the sort of gray alternating color is Heathers by Leading Men Fiber Arts. I'm using the Dramaturg base, which is a DK weight base. And I've started the decreases. You can kind of see here is where it stops increasing and starts decreasing. Although if you look here, I'll hold this up in a minute, but there's a little tail end here. This is where I joined in the new color, but I don't feel like you can even tell it's a different color.
It looks a little more like orangey. It's a little brighter, maybe.
Well, it's showing up better on the screen than it does in person.
Gotcha.
I can actually tell a difference on the screen. But yeah, so I'm using a Mad Hatter pack from Wonderland Frabjous Fibers. I think it's Frabjous Fibers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frabjous Fibers. So I'm on color number 3 of 5. I've just got about half of a little ball left. I'm not certain if I'm going to do this purple because this is really different from the other colors. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put that in. If I do, it'll be the very, very end. We'll see. It's just if I need it, then I'll use it. But if I don't, then I won't. And I'm almost out of the skein number 1 of the Dramaturg, the Heather. So this is all that's left of that. I didn't realize I was this close to the end. So I'll wind the other skein of this tonight or tomorrow so that I can keep working on that.
Yeah, you're already upstairs. You might as well do it tonight.
Yeah, but the yarn's downstairs.
Oh.
Because of course it is.
That is problematic right there.
Yeah, so. But yeah, that's it. Have you got any? You did finish something.
I did kind of, sort of. I'm going to go back and change something, but it's finished according to the pattern. So I finished my Ursa Minor. Sorry, I started spinning. And it looks like this. Let me grab it. So it's a crop sweater, and it's knit out of Baroka Vintage Chunky. I knit it on size 11 and 10.5 needles. And according to the pattern, this is finished, but the neckline you just pick up and then bind back off. I think it's way too open for me. So I think, and I did that with size 10.5s. I think I'm going to go down to 10s, pick back up around to the bind off that I just created, because that'll be a nice edge. It should be fine. And then knit like an inch to bring it in, because it is very, very open and very deep.
Will you do, and I know we've sort of talked back and forth about this a little bit, but will you do any decreases like up at the shoulder? If it were me, and you can completely disregard this advice because you're a grown-ass woman, but if it were me, I would probably do a couple of decreases at each shoulder, and then
I'm going down a needle size.
Yeah, but it's still a pretty gaping neckline on you.
The problem is not so much the depth of the neck, it's that like when I have it on, it hits me like at the edge of my shoulders. So it feels like it's constantly, like the weight of it is pulling it off. That's more of what I need to fix. So I think if I knit an inch in the smaller gauge, it should bring it in. I mean, I could try the decreases, but notes of people from the regular Ursa sweater that have done decreases on the necklines have ripped it back out because they've not liked it. So I don't know. We'll play it by ear. It's a neckline. I can rip it out as many times as I need to, I think. But yeah, you said you would do like decreases here and decreases there.
What I would try to do is I would probably pick up in a one needle size down maybe, and then I would knit a row, and then I would probably do a couple decreases at each shoulder, and then I would probably do a center double decrease, a couple of those right at the V as well, just so that the counts stay accurate.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't taken any time to look at the people who've done decreases on the neckline in Ursa. So if you've already reviewed that, then you know better than I.
I might look at Ann Budd's book of handy sweater patterns and see how she does necklines, because she's got a bunch of different necklines, or like Amy Herzog's book.
Mm-hmm.
The first one has a bunch of different necklines, so I might look at that. But I'm actually taking it down 2 sizes because I'm going from an 11 to a 10. It's actually 3 if you count 10.75. So I don't know. We'll see. Changes that I made to this and that I would make in the future. I had actually cast on a size smaller because I didn't want an open neckline, and then changed the rate of my increases on the body. So I have narrower arms, like biceps, than people who typically wear my size. So I stopped increasing on the arms earlier, and then increased more rapidly on the body stitches to get back to that count. I did not do any darts because I did not feel like I needed them. Although you can do bust darts if you are a larger size. I feel like that neckline goes all the way down almost. What else did I do? Instead of casting on 1 stitch underneath, I cast on 3 and did 3 sections of ribbing for the body instead of the broken rib for the body instead of 2, because I think odd numbers always look better. And I did not do the broken rib on the bottom of the sleeve because I thought that would just drive me nuts. So just knit round and round and round. I made my body a flank sweater. I think so. I haven't washed it yet, and it's obviously going to grow in the wash.
But it's acrylic, right?
It's a wool acrylic nylon blend.
Okay.
So
I know wool typically grows, but I can tell you from my Central Park hoodie that I was sure was going to grow. It was completely acrylic, though. It did not grow.
Comfort. Well, it also, I feel like you knit that hoodie at a very dense gauge. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but I still
this is very open.
Hope for it to grow.
Yeah.
So are you happy with the length that is now, but you're concerned it's going to grow, or you wish it was a little longer and you're hoping it's going to grow?
I actually kind of wish it was a little shorter, maybe. I don't know. Okay. It's 10 inches is what I did, which is to my true like bending point waist measurement. So we'll see. I think it looks really good, the length it is with a tunic top. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would look good with a dress, but we'll see. I just don't want it to be that awkward, weird size where people are like, did you mean to knit that cross? Right. Or so I have ends to weave in, a neckline to pick up, and it to be blocked. I will spin out the water so the weight of the water won't cause it to grow, because that happens when you have something that absorbs a lot of water in the blocking process. I think that's it. Like, so yeah, it's mostly, it's done. Like, I could wear this once I weave in the ends, but I am going to fix the neckline.
And it just only, like, from the point where you actually started working on it, it took you, what, 3 weeks maybe?
I think 2.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I think 2. So I did not work at, like, I was doing other things.
Like
What was I
you had
working on
cast it
that I
on
had to
and
get
knit one
done?
row, I think, until
Oh, yeah, that was
that
like,
class with, yeah, I wasn't counting that. I know
yeah, that
after your
was back in
class with
March.
Jackie, then
Jackie.
you really
Yeah,
were working on
I
it.
worked on it that weekend and then kind of put it aside for a week and then really started working on it this past week. I think it's a sweater that even in like a 50, I did size 50, even in that size, like that's the size that I ended up around, which is lower on the ease. I think you could knit it in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. If you actually worked on it. But I was working on other. Oh, I had a lot of spinning that was due the week before. So, and I was knitting all the Halloween things. It's Halloween. It's very important. But that's it for me for finished objects. Do you have any finished objects?
I do, because Laura texted me earlier today at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock, and she's like, "You want to record at 6:30?" And I'm like, "Sure." I have basically nothing, but sure. And then I'm like, I went and looked at my Pinterest board, and I'm like, "Can I sew anything in an hour?" And I could. So I had gone
Awesome.
to the dollar store at some point, because your mom made me one of these a couple of years ago as part of like the Christmas package that she sends, and I use it all the time because it's
What
so handy. So I decided to make some. So it's it's like a pot holder that's folded in half, and then it's got a towel sewn to the bottom of it. So and I linked the project on our show notes. Our show notes are found at TheKnitGirls with 3Ls.com. So it's just a pot holder.
Aww.
When then you sew a button on one side
And the button
and
won't melt. Like if
melt.
you could pick up something hot because it's a plastic button, it won't
No,
melt.
that's not how you use it. So you
Oh, okay.
hang it over your oven, the door that opens your oven, and then you clip it like this, and then you always have a towel hanging that's not going to fall off
Gotcha.
your bar. Because I have two messy boys. Well, a boy and a man, who don't know how to use or put away towels. So with this, all they have, to dry their hands, they can just wipe their hands on a towel and it's not going to fall off.
Cool.
So I got the pot holders and the towels from the dollar store, and I had the buttons. So this project cost me $3.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so you just sew the pot holder, with a line of stitches onto the towel, and then you're done. I mean, it took me longer to line up the towel to fit and evenly on
Yeah.
here, and it still didn't quite work, than it did to do the rest of the project, even sewing on the buttons. So yeah, so this is a super quick. If you're looking for like holiday gifts for a bunch of people at an office, or
Yeah.
if you have a big family or something,
Santa.
super fast and pretty cheap. So yeah, so that's my grandiose, amazing finish thing for the week.
That's pretty awesome, though.
I don't have my spinning up here with me. I really should just take it out of the show notes. I worked on it a little bit this week, but not enough to finish the first bump. So, what about you?
Okay.
You have
Well,
some
I'm
spinning.
spinning right now on my, and it's so quiet you probably can't even hear it.
I can't hear
On
it, and I am very prone to pick up noises.
on my Daedalus Sterling, or Starling. I can't even talk. Sterling's a metal. Starling's a bird. It's all about the birds this episode. I hear birds the word.
The bird is the word. I wonder if we've had an episode called "The Bird is the Word." I feel like we might have.
I feel like we have. So this is what the wheel looks like. And that is what I am spinning on it. It is some fiber from Spotted You in the blue-eared starling colorway. So this is actually the second bobbin. I have this much left, so I'm almost done. This is the first bobbin. So this is merino silk gold Angelina blend. So 33, 33, 33. It's 14.5% micron merino, 33% white Erie silk, 33% gold Angelina. And it was one of her experimental blends that she sent me to give my opinion on as a present. So yeah. So that is being spun in here as I Zoom after work with friends. So yeah, that's where I do the dataless Zoom on Saturdays. But yeah, that's all I'm spinning on right now. So there you go. I'm
We
reading
have not had an episode called Bird is the Word. So guess what?
Really?
Episode 508, Bird is the Word. At least according to my search on the TheKnitGirll's website. Because that's how I do it.
That's how you do it. I can't believe we haven't had one named that yet. Now everyone's yelling at us because they have that earworm.
Yeah.
Oh well. I am listening to Alana Andrews' White Hot. Or no, I'm not. I'm listening to Wildfire by Alana Andrews. Let me update those show notes.
Is that the second or third?
That's the third. I haven't really been listening to it. I listened to it like last Friday, maybe. But not a ton. And I also read a new adult book. It's the new Sam Burns book called Wildfire as well. All the wildfires.
I was going to say you're reading and listening to books called Wildfire. Cool.
Yeah. The new Sam Burns, it's a spin-off of her other Greek mythology series. And it's a male romance, paranormal romance. So with, that Greek mythology elements. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was the perfect amount of not serious reading for this past.
Yeah.
As I was doom scrolling Twitter and Instagram, it was a good thing to break, and CNN. It was a good thing to break up my feed. So yeah, what have you been reading?
My favorite random pointless BuzzFeed article from this week was if you blank, you don't need to worry about Joe Biden's tax plan. And it's because I don't know a lot about politics, but the way I understand this particular thing, your taxes will only increase with this specific plan if you make more than $400,000 a year. So it's if you have a popcorn ceiling, you don't need to worry about Joe Biden's tax plan.
Yeah, I have popcorn ceilings.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was like 18 or 20 of them. That there were some that were really funny, because I fit into all of them. So, as far as reading, I just finished the Helen Harper one, Slouch Witch, last night. And I'm listening to the Others series, which is a paranormal, but it is not a fluffy type of paranormal. It's very, it's
still going. I will say it's horror. I'm going to die on this little anthill of mine.
And that's cool. I mean,
I wonder what Amazon puts it under. I'm gonna look. Let's see.
So it has earth elementals, but it's also got vampires and shifters. One of the characters is a spirit bear. And then they have quote ponies. They're steeds that are thunder and lightning and mist and all of that. But yeah, humans that break the rules are eaten. They're clever meat.
They're clever meat.
But there is a truce worked out between humanity, and all the paranormals are grouped together called Terra Indigene, which I think translates to Earth Native. It's good, but it can be dark at times. And also the main character, the main protagonist, is a girl who's been sheltered her entire life, and she's in her mid-20s. So a lot of the like internal monologue can feel very young.
Yeah.
Which is hard to pair with like, somebody broke the wolf's rules and now he's talking about, the fresh blood when he kills him. So
Yeah. So it's under contemporary fantasy fiction, romantic fantasy. I don't know
I would
that I
not
believe
qualify it as romantic at all.
And dark fantasy horror.
Okay.
I want to see what else is under dark fantasy horror.
Okay, well, we should probably record our podcast, though.
No.
You can just leave that tab open.
No, I'm very busy now.
Yeah, clearly.
I've never heard of any of these books, so I think I'm good. Huh. It's a lot of half-naked women books.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have interspersed this week My dad wrote a porno. Because it's just been that kind of week. Like, you need some levity at some point. So
yeah,
I have interspersed a little bit of that, but that's about it.
Okay. I'm still waiting on Instagram to allow hashtags to be viewed.
Searchable again.
Yeah. Well, they just removed anything that's like new posts. So usually they have two tabs for hashtags, and one's like top posts and one's new posts. And top posts is only like the top 25 or whatever of that hashtag, and I want to include everyone in our drawing for Halloween Craft All the Things.
So if you do new posts, will it show all of them? It'll just start with the newest one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not available right now. You also can't follow hashtags right now. At least I couldn't.
Oh, well, I'm not on Instagram. So.
Yeah. So we're just hanging out. I promise we'll pull as soon as Instagram decides to do that. If not, if it doesn't get fixed by this week, I'll just set aside some prizes and we'll pull for the Ravelry prizes at least.
Yeah.
So,
and probably because Skype's like show desktop feature is a little different than the program that we used before to record when we're in person. Probably we'll just choose ahead of time, and then I'll show pictures of as we go through the prizes. I'll just put them into the show.
That sounds like a good plan for sure. I think that's it for this week. Do you have anything else besides your terrible bird story?
Yeah, I'm thinking back on it. I probably shouldn't have told that story. But now we've all experienced it together, and now we have a giant 18-inch square and 5 foot tall cage, which Michael converted to a toad habitat immediately.
Oh, of course he did.
And so now it's in the backyard, and it's flipped on its side, so it's a long, low one. Because apparently toads are supposed to hibernate, and in order to hibernate, they have to dig themselves into the dirt. So we set it up outside, and he put,
just like half of it dug into the dirt.
Huh?
Is it like dug into the dirt?
No, we put topsoil, like 6 inches of soil, and then Michael put a water thing. I'll try to get a picture and put it in here. But yeah, so now they have their own little habitat outside, and I was like, "Did you put your favorite frog out there?" Because he has a favorite, and her name is Big Mama, and I don't know how he knows that she's a girl. I guess they may have different coloring or something. I don't know. And he was like, "No, because I don't want her to hibernate." I'm like, "That's kind of selfish of you. Like, you get to decide when she hibernates."
He's her god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Aslan mice from
yeah.
Or
series. The thing from Toy Story with the 3-eyed aliens. The claw.
The claw. Michael is everyone's claw, all the toads' claw.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got.
All right, well, I will let you go.
All right. Well, we'll
And
talk
we
to you
will see
again
y'all next week.
next week. Yep.
All right. Bye,
Bye, y'all.
y'all.